Hello everybody, I'm Mortika Lacrosse, and thank you for tuning into this video. And this video is about purists in the leftist movement. And what I mean by purists is not people, I'm not talking about people that won't join the political parties of Democratic and Republican, because the whole point of a socialist or communist or an anti-capitalist leftist movement is to create a political party separate from the mainstream capitalistic parties. So that's not what I'm talking about when it comes to purists. What I'm talking about when it comes to purists is those that don't try to do anything other than sit there and criticize any leftist movement outside of the political mainstream. They basically are like, oh, that group is not leftist enough for me, that group is not anti-capitalist enough for me, or something to that nature, or that particular thing, if you will. It's fine to criticize the Democratic Party and the Republican Party as a leftist or an anti-capitalist, or anybody outside of the two political mainstream of politics, if you will. But it's another thing to say, I'm not going to join any political movement or group of people because they're not left enough for me. And usually these people, so-called purists, really all it has to do with is that the fact is they really don't want to do anything. They want to have the ability to complain about the way things are without joining any movement or making some contribution, if you will, even if it's in video form or some kind of other form, without having to contribute anything to a movement to actually change anything. And there's a lot of third parties that are like that, don't actually do anything. And then there's a lot of parties that actually do, that are outside the political mainstream, that actually do contribute or actually do something to try to change things from the way they are. So obviously those political parties that are actually outside the political mainstream, that actually do try to do things or do try to change things, even if it's in small incremental ways, those are not what I'm talking about when it comes to political purists. I'm talking about people that are like, oh, he's not Marxist enough for me, or he's not socialist enough for me, or he's not communist enough for me. And really all these people are keyboard warriors sitting behind a keyboard and whatnot and criticizing those out that are not left enough for them. They're like, oh, that person is not leftist enough for me. They're too Trotskyist, or they're too Marxist, or they're too much Englist, or they're too much they're too much Fidel Castro-ish for me to even bother. And yet they see that these political people or these political movements are outside of the political mainstream, and they're actually trying to do something to change things, but because they're not left enough for them. And really, these so-called political purists are only doing this so they can sit back and criticize other people without actually having to contribute or without actually having to do things, which is fine. If you don't want to do anything, you're just waiting for the collapse of capitalism, that's fine. But don't try to make it seem that it's just that they're not leftist enough for you. In reality, what it is you just want to sit on your ass and wait for it to fall and a new system to be instated, which is perfectly fine and whatnot. If that's the thing, just be honest with yourself. Just be honest that that's what's really going on. So that's what I really want to particularly talk about in this video and whatnot. And I'll try to do a podcast version of this for my SoundClick page, which right now, right there, is the web page right here for the particular thing where you can hear the audio podcast version of this. Anyways, until next time, I'm Mortika Lacrosse. You are the revolution.